Well, if you follow my channel, you know that there are a couple of fish that I've been wanting to get for a while. Two of them are in this box right here. This just arrived, and I want to thank those of you who suggested that I contact Snake River Cichlids, and this was just dropped at my door. So they use a UPS right to your door service, overnight service, which is I'll admit, a little more convenient than going to the airport. Cost about the same. It's not like it saves you a lot of money, but it is convenient just to be able to open your door and there's your box. Hopefully they treat boxes that are marked with live animals. Hopefully they treat those boxes well and don't toss them around too much. So the first thing you get is a very standardized sheet that you'll see in many shipments from folks that ship fish. Inspect every fish in the box. If a fish has arrived dead or anything seems out of the ordinary, please take a photo or video, send it to us immediately. So the different acclimation recommendations: if the fish appears to be distressed, when very cold or sedated, the fish can appear to be dead and yet be just fine. I've experienced that. I had those blue Congo tetras arrived looking upside down and near death, and as soon as they warmed up and stuff, they're still thriving in the 90-gallon. It says here, do not feed the fish. Part of acclimating your new tropical fish is to not feed the fish for at least 24 hours, especially with the larger ones. When you do start feeding, start with no more than 1 or 2 bites of dry food. So just sort of getting them back into eating. And very often what will happen is the folks who ship these fish will not feed them for a day or so that they're not releasing a lot of waste in the bags while they're in shipment, and that makes a lot of sense. So you get quite a bit of information from Snake River. I've never ordered from them before. This is not a sponsored video. I paid full price for these fish. They do use this packing material, which I'm not crazy about. I'm not crazy about it because it gets on the bags and can sometimes end up a little bit in your aquarium, but not a real big deal. I mean, if it keeps the fish comfortable at a good temperature, then it's certainly worth it. They're using a very thick, I immediately noticed that they're using a very thick, well-sealed bag. Yeah, this is probably 2 to 3 times the millimeter of what a normal shipping bag would be. And it's sealed. It's not using rubber bands. It looks like it's heat sealed, and it looks like it's double. So this is a real good good packaging. And what do I have in here is a 4 to 6 inch Venusis. Not sure if you can see him. I'm going to run this bag. I'm going to run a little water over the bag to take all the dust off of it, and then I'm going to float him in the tanks. I've prepared 2 quarantine tanks, so they'll be able to be quarantined separately as opposed to in a tank with a divider. That way they'll have a little more space, and the lights in those tanks are off, so they'll be able to kind of chill out. But I'll clean this bag off and go ahead and float him. Actually, I can probably clean it off with this wet towel. Yeah, that works. It's getting all the packing fragments off so that they don't end up floating in the aquarium. Nice little male, has a nice blue face. Giraffe haps are just really a nice addition to every African cichlid tank because they bring up a green-yellow color that is not that common in African cichlids. So they're great, just a great addition. I had one before. He was a little runt, and he ended up not living that long. But this guy looks real good. The next fish, is a fish I've been really wanting, lusting after for quite some time. Perhaps one of my favorite of all African cichlids. a 4 to 6 inch sand diver. Not sure if you can make them out. Good looking little guy. Smaller than the, he looks a little smaller than the Venusus. I know that sometimes the bag can distort the size of the fish, but using a little tape measure from tip of his mouth to his tail, yeah, he's about 6 inches. Very elongated, not quite as bulky and round as the Venusus, so he doesn't look quite as big, but he is. We'll get all this wiped off and we'll get him acclimated. I'll float him for 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, and then I'll flop and drop him. In other words, I'll go ahead and empty the bag through a net into a bucket, and then catching him in a net, I'll then drop him into his home, his quarantine tank, where he'll be for about he'll probably be there for about 30 days. But he's a good looking guy. He's breathing a little heavy, but that's understandable. He's been in this bag for a day. But I'm going to go ahead and float him. This is a fish I've wanted for quite a while. They get pretty big. They have beautiful color in their body. Let's get him floating. The Venusus will be in this 20-gallon rimless, living with a couple plecos. Good looking fish. And the sand diver will be in this 29-gallon, a little bit bigger. Very light sand. He'll be able to do his sifting around. He's active, looks good. There was what appears to be one heat pack inside the box, and the box is very heavily insulated. As you can see, it's got styrofoam all the way around, has this material, and a very thick styrofoam cover. So the fish were pretty snug and comfortable. As you know, the first 24 hours, that's the crucial period for brand new fish. So we'll see how they're doing tomorrow morning. I'm not going to feed them, let them go ahead and just relax in a dark tank until tomorrow. Then tomorrow I'll give them their first feeding, just drop a few little pellets in there of cichlid food. I'll watch how they eat and how they behave and how they interact, and hopefully they'll get, they'll be nice and strong and displaying their fins and look good and colorful. And in a month, I'll put them back here with the big boys. That little gar I put in there recently is doing fine. So I'm thinking that the smaller fish are just going to get ignored. Now there is a fish in there. There's a Fusco, which is of the Nimbochromis family. He might develop an interest in this Venusus, but I think they're different enough in color and pattern that he's not going to want to harass him. I don't think he'd really be able to harass him because this Venusus is not that much smaller than that Fusco. Sand diver I'm not too concerned about. I think the other fish will kind of ignore him. He has a very sort of unique look. Probably looks more like a coingi than any of the other fish, and I doubt the coingi will have any interest in him at all. So I look forward to watching them put on some bulk and some size in this tank behind me here with the big monsters, and eventually get up into that 7 to 11 inch range with some good bulk on their body, and they'll just be beautiful additions to the tank behind me. Now I'm still looking for an Otopharynx tetrastigma. If you got a lead on an Otopharynx tetrastigma, let me know. I'd like to pick one up. That's it for me. So far so good, Snake River. Thank you so much for some healthy fish. I'll keep you all posted on how they're doing, and you'll see when I do the aquarium spotlight videos on the 300-gallon, you'll see how they're doing. All right, there you go. Saturday at the Cichlids and Coffee live stream. That's every Saturday with a great group of fish keepers. Saturday at 11 a.m. Central. That's 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And if you like the channel and you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a Patreon. Starts for as little as $3 a month. Details are in the description below the video. And if you want to hear my best tips on keeping fish, a lot of them I learned the hard way, so you don't have to. Check out the videos on this playlist up here. And if you want to subscribe, just hit me in the mug right there. All right. Thank you, my friends. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.